Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We have a special guest today, Dr. Nicole Shaw. Dr. Shaw is a Face for the Future alumni who will be graduating from medical school at American University of the Caribbean in St. Martin and will begin her residency in the Family Practice Department at Drexel University in Philadelphia. Congratulations, Dr. Shaw, and thank you for joining us to share your journey with the Faces for the Future communities.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Thank you for having me.
We are very excited to learn about you, your journey, and story. So why don't we get started with some simple questions of when did you graduate from FACES and what have you been up to since?
Okay. So I graduated from FACES 2009 when I graduated from high school. And from that point, I went to UC Berkeley for undergraduate education. And I studied integrated biology in that space. After that, I ended up going to Rome to study individual arts and language. So I went to Rome for a semester, and then that completed my undergraduate education. And then after that, I did a whole bunch of things before medical school. I did some community college classes to build up my resume for medical school applications. I ended up traveling after college. I shadowed in pediatric neurosurgery at Kaiser. I did a whole bunch of things, prepared for medical school, ended up moving to Las Vegas and worked in theater. And then I eventually got into medical school in 2018.
Wow, that sounds great. Sounds like you took some time off from undergrad and you did some traveling. How was that experience? What drove you to take that time off before going to medical school?
Well, I thought personally that I needed more time. I know some students did the MCAT process during their junior year of college, and then they were already prepared. Once they got out of senior year, they would be going straight to medical school. I needed a little more time. I had a hard time academically, just with the sciences and being prepared for the speed of the classes and the difficulty of the actual curriculum. So I just focused on finishing my classes, finishing everything strong. And then I ended up traveling to Rome because I've always wanted to travel and I've always wanted to do different language and art. So I ended up doing that my last semester of undergraduate education. So I did that. And then I just needed more help with boosting up my resume and my application for medical school so that I could possibly have a better chance of getting in. So I kind of took that time that I took off, helped me prepare in shadowing experience, classes, education, but also just doing things that I enjoyed as well before I actually got in. And I actually got in 2017. I did the MERP program, which was a preparation program for Ross and AUC. And then I ended up being on the island in St. Martin on the 2018 of May. So May 2018.
In that process of taking the traveling time, working on boosting your resume, what inspired you to go into the healthcare field? Is there a specific event or situation that happened, or anything? It could be anything. What inspired you?
I would say, so I started going towards medicine when I was 16. So I started the Faces for the Future program. I believe I was a junior or sophomore in high school. And I've always been interested in medicine. Like, I feel like whenever anybody was sick around me or needed some kind of assistance, I was always there to help them. I was always interested and intrigued about how to help aid the human body in healing, but also just seeing, I mean, coming from Oakland and coming from the inner city, you do see certain people having chronic conditions and not having the ability or the resources to be able to help and aid and maintain that. So I kind of didn't know what to do, and I wanted to be part of the solution because it was very just unfortunate people in your family, but also people just in the community going to the emergency room, going to spaces to try to find help for the issues that they had. So it really drove me to want to be a part of that solution. So that's why I initially picked Faces, and being a part of that and having the actual exposure to see if I actually wanted to do it. So the initial catalyst was just having an interest in seeing the disparity and seeing the need for resources. But I feel like Faces gave me the exposure to be able to see what I actually took. And the process to actually get to this point was very grueling and long. It took about 15 years. I'm 31 now. But I made it, I guess.
Speaking of faces, was there a specific memory or moment that helped you personally and professionally that impacted you?
I wouldn't say a specific moment, but I think just the process of being in faces. Um, I remember, my little blue jacket and getting on the shuttle to go to the hospital, and being like, I still remember going to the pulmonary lab and watching kids with CF and different issues in their lungs, doing the testing to see how it worked, and being in the surgery rooms and being in the different, clinics. It really gave me that exposure, and it kind of like I kind of soaked everything in. So I think that process was like my first exposure to it. And not necessarily anything specific, but just being with my comrades, being with Dr. Magana, being with all the teachers that were there, is really there to help us and aid us in this. And I also came back as an alumni of the program when I was in college, and I was a student advisor for the summer program that you all do as well. And just being able to be in that space with like some of my friends that were in college, teaching students, and really delving into the space that I actually wanted to be in. I think the experience overall was just really important to me, and it got me to this point that I am now.
Thank you for sharing that. In that process, from being a FACES student to a college student to taking some time off and figuring things out, were there any challenges that you faced in that process, and were you able to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I mean, challenges were everywhere, like all the time. Um, I I think just academically, when you come from high school, and I was, pretty good in high school, got pretty good grades. And then when I got to college, I realized how ill prepared I was. And it's not just necessarily like, oh, the school was terrible, so they didn't prepare me, but it's just the resources within the inner city sometimes don't prepare you for the rigors that are going to be in a top science university. It just didn't prepare me for it. And I had a hard time really gathering, the ability and understanding how to best understand the information. It was very difficult for me. So I felt like I was always just playing catch up. I just didn't. I guess I just didn't get it. I just didn't understand physics and chemistry and organic chemistry. It was very hard for me. So I think that was one of my first obstacles, just the academic obstacle. I was always in tutoring, always trying to get better at it, but it was just very hard for me, mixed with like calculus and all of these things. And everything that came easier to me was usually literary, art, books, things like that. But I've always wanted to do medicine, so I thought I should be in a medical field, scientific field for my study in undergrad. So academically, it was difficult. Getting into medical school, because I applied to American medical schools and didn't get in. So not having, amazing grades, so that was difficult. Not having a top MCAT score, that was difficult. I took an Berkeley extensions class for biochem to try to, set my academic profile again. And I ended up not passing the final exam. So they didn't pass me for the whole class, although I did well throughout the whole class. But the final exam kind of dictated how you did. And I just thought, I was like, this is it, I guess. Like, I didn't pass my class. I can't pass the class. I can't get into American medical schools. So I was thinking about just being like, I guess I'll just give up. I can't do it, I don't think. But I researched the Caribbean medical schools, applied to just have some like questions just to see what they had to offer. They called me. Luckily, I had all my paperwork prepared, and they offered me the MERP position so that I can like see if I can actually, deal with the rigors of medical school. And that was another obstacle, just passing that in a totally new state. That was in Florida. So I feel like my whole journey has just been small obstacles. I'm sure everybody has obstacles, but there were a lot of them academically, socially, being away from my family, constantly having to move, just not feeling like I fit in the space that I was in. My department in undergrad only had 5 Black people in the space, and then it was everyone else. So I just never felt, connected, a part of the community, supported. So there were a lot of obstacles in my journey, but I overcame them. So, they're always going to be there. You have to figure out a way to step over them to get to where you have to go.
In that process, given the different challenges and obstacles that you've faced, Were there certain things that kept you motivated, kept you going, or a support system?
Yes, so I have, of course, my family is very supportive. Even though sometimes they're like, why are you putting yourself through this? Because they watched me through medical school. And I feel like sometimes they knew medical school's hard. Everyone knows something is difficult. But I feel like, my mental health suffered, my physical health suffered. Just because you have to push yourself and keep pushing yourself to like the limit to get to where you needed to be. But they were like, whatever, we're supporting you, whatever you want to do. And that's, that was very helpful for me, going through it with friends and classmates. I think that's why I was really worried about the students who are online, because it's so important to have that camaraderie right next to you, and to battle with the people that you're going through it with. It was really, really helpful. So family, friends, classmates, were really a good supportive system. Praying, because I would pray, watch church, and try to gather that that religious, spiritual support. Just that those were my supportive things. And then in regards to like outward things, I would go to like the beach or go somewhere in nature to kind of calm myself down. When I was feeling out of it, I went to therapy. I still go to therapy in order to kind of help me with however I'm feeling, to help me process those things. So there have been a multitude of things to help me maintain myself throughout medical school, and also my own self-motivation. Like, I guess it's a mixture of spite, like I'm not giving up now. It took too long to get here, I'm not stopping. And a little bit of debt, that also helps. But just really wanting to do it. Like, as a person of color, I felt like it was something, a responsibility that I had, that I really wanted to not just be there for people of color, obviously, but it was something really important where we need more people of color in these spaces, to make our patients feel safe and feel heard, and to be an inspiration for people who are like me, who don't feel like they can do it. And then when I saw like doctors that were Black women or Black men or women, people of color, I was like, okay, I can do this. So it kind of helps to have somebody there, and you're like, if you just get there, like, I promise you can do it. So there were a multitude of things that really helped me keep myself together. I can progress forward.
Thank you for sharing that experience, because I know that things don't always come very easy. There's always various challenges that come up, and I really appreciate you sharing the multitude of outlets that you've had of having a support system, connecting with your family and friends, being connected to your faith base, as well as part of your network, part of your motivation to continue and not give up, in addition to therapy. And I think that's really helpful to hear, and especially for our viewers, because we're always talking to young people about self-care and what that may look like. And it looks different for everyone. It's different for you, and it might look different for this person. So I really appreciate you sharing that. We are very excited to hear that you are currently have been matched to the family medicine department with Drexel University for your residency. So congratulations. And I know it's been a journey, and it does take years to get where you're at. And I wanted to ask you, if you go back to your high school self and ask yourself, well, not ask, but give yourself some advice. As a high school student, what advice would you give yourself today?
Okay, so for myself, I would probably tell her, one thing is not to doubt herself so much, because I had a huge issue with going on to Berkeley's and knowing like there are Nobel Prize winners there. There are people teaching you who advise people for nuclear science, all these very well established science professors, in a space where it's just so many people and you don't feel very connected, to not doubt yourself so much, and to really try to figure out how best you learn and not worry about anybody else. And I would let her know that it's going to be difficult. Like, it is going to be difficult. It's not something that's going to be easy. But if you take it day by day, and I tell myself this, I try. I'm the kind of person that that worries about the future and sits in the past, but has a hard time sitting in the present, because I'm always worried about something. something happening or something that happened. But to just take it day by day. I tell my people that I mentor in my, lower semesters within medical school, day by day. You have things that you have to do. You have exams you have coming up. We all have things that are going to progress from year to year in order to get to where you want to be. But if you don't focus on just going day by day, trying to learn something new, trying to stay present in the space and really taking care of, because if you worry about what's going to happen in the future too much, you're going to miss what's happening now and you're going to stress yourself out. And that's not how you live your life. So I'll just tell her, don't doubt yourself so much. You can do it. It's going to be very difficult. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, but you can make it. And really try to focus on that point. Because I feel like if I didn't doubt myself so much, it's not about, I would have been at Harvard, I would have been at these places, but in a better experience, I think. It wouldn't have been such a anxiety ridden experience. It would have been just a learning experience. And that's what life is in general. It's just a experience of learning. So just enjoy yourself, have a good time. Even in the times where you feel like you don't know anything, you can always learn one thing. Just mainly those things, because it's years is a long time to get to be. I thought I would be here by now. I thought I'd be done residency. I thought I'd be married. I thought I'd be all these things, and to where I wanted to be. But it's something that you prayed for. You're going to have to work towards it, but I promise you'll be okay. So it's just knowing those things and telling myself those things. I think that it would help her really enjoy her life a little bit more while she's going through this. When I look back at medical school, I look back at the things I did before, between medical school and undergrad, and now you're done with education. You're done with school. Now you're a resident and you're working and what have you, but you're done with education for now. So that part of your life is going to be done. So you have to enjoy it. So that's what I'll probably tell her and her, because it's a long road, but you should probably enjoy it. So that's mainly it.
Is that something that you would also share with others, our viewers?
Yeah, I would say that for students as well. Any student that wants to do really anything with their life, but especially for medicine, because it is a draining process. And you can't sugarcoat everything. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be so much fun. It's gonna be hard. Learn so much, and you're gonna feel so just invigorated with knowledge as you're learning your body, you're learning about all these processes, and you're going to feel so excited about the information, but it's going to be hard. Every day focusing on education and studying, you're focusing on that. You're not focusing on yourself. And if you leave yourself behind, it's going to catch up with you. I've been fatigued. I've been not feeling well. I've been all of these things because I focused on education, and let myself kind of go back. You miss a lot of things. You miss a lot of important things in your life, your family, you miss birthdays, all these things, people growing up in your life, you miss your focus on this, goal. So it's not going to be easy, but try to enjoy the road that you have to take anyway. Going to be on there. So you might as well enjoy it. Don't doubt yourself, even if you have to stand by yourself and you're completely alone. You can do it.
Thank you for sharing that advice to our viewers and our students. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the FACES communities?
I guess another piece of advice would be to establish worship. It's really important to network and have somebody that believes in you in space in which you would like to be. You can have family that believes in you and friends, and that's excellent support. But sometimes you just need somebody like Dr. Magana. Dr. Pang was another doctor that I interacted with, and he's my mentor at Kaiser Oakland. And just somebody who you can talk to and they can really give you that support. Network, even if you're shy, and try to be as outgoing as you can, and just let people know that you're here. Whomever you are, whatever kind of personality you have, even if you feel like you're awkward, quirky, weird, whatever, someone's going to think you're excellent. So don't hide who you are. Don't be like, I have to be like this because that's how a doctor is. And that's how you have to be yourself and stand out. Don't be negatively standing out, but stand out, because that really helps people establish who you are when you're doing these interviews and trying to become a physician or whatever you want to be. So don't try to dim who you are to fit into this cookie cutter space, because at the end of the day, if you're supposed to be there, you will be there. So mentorship is extremely important. And networking is extremely important, and trying to find your space and your space within an environment. Even if you feel like no one looks like me, I don't know if these people want me here. If you want to be there, you should be. So make your space within that environment so you can get to where you want to be. So I think those are really important for students, especially in high school, going towards college, have that moving forward to when they get to college, they need to look for mentors, they can network in the environment they want to be in, and they need to carve out a space for themselves where they want to be. Because no one's going to hand you anything and say, hey, welcome. You have to push for it. And then you find those people that really want to help you, and really, really want to be a part of your life and help you out, then you kind of hold on to them and gather that support. So that's what I would tell students. They're almost done. They're on their way out. It's really time to, when you get to college, have a good time, but it's also time to put in work for your future. So not just in the classroom, but also just in general. But I wish them all the best. It's a lot, but I wish them all the best.
The Faces family is very excited for your next chapter in life and looking forward to staying connected. To our viewers, we have more videos posted on the Faces for the Future website. Check them out at facesforthefuture.org and connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Again, Dr. Shaw, we really appreciate you taking the time to speak to our viewers, to connect with Faces. We are always excited to connect with our alumni and learn about their stories and their pathways. So we really appreciate you taking the time to share your story. And again, we look forward to your next steps and still staying connected.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was great.